To examine the resurrection of Jesus, we have to look past private faith and treat it as a claim subject to rigorous historical methodology. Appealing strictly to theology does not hold up under secular scrutiny. To determine what actually happened in first century Judea, we need a standard of evidence that a skeptical historian would accept. This brings us to the minimal facts approach, a framework utilized by modern historians like Gary Habermas and Michael Licona. In this framework, a minimal fact is a specific piece of data that is so strongly evidenced that the vast majority of critical, secular, and non-Christian scholars universally accept it as historical reality. By cross-referencing independent ancient sources, we can establish a set of undisputed historical facts. We can then test whether standard skeptical hypotheses can actually account for that data. The resurrection is a testable historical claim. If it is true, it must be able to survive the exact same critical scrutiny applied to any other event in antiquity. A common assumption is that the Bible is the only surviving source of information about Jesus. That is historically inaccurate. We have independent Roman records documenting the early Christian movement. Take the Roman historian Cornelius Tacitus. Writing in his annals, he confirms that Christus suffered the extreme penalty, crucifixion, under Pontius Pilate and Emperor Tiberius. We know Pontius Pilate's authority in Judea is a verified historical reality. This is the Pilate stone, bearing the carved Latin inscription, Tiberium and Pontius Pilatus, perfectly aligning the textual record with physical archaeology. Beyond Roman accounts, we have first-century Jewish records, most notably the historian Flavius Josephus. While later Christian editors likely interpolated parts of his text, modern scholars can reliably isolate the universally accepted historical core. From Josephus, we extract three distinct points. Jesus was a wise teacher, he was crucified under Pilate, and his followers believed he was the Messiah. Further secular corroboration comes from Thallus, who attempted to explain the darkness at the crucifixion as an eclipse, and Pliny the Younger, who documented early Christians worshiping Christ. Compare this first-century consensus with alternative historical models. This text is the 7th century Quranic account, Surah An-Nisa. It claims Jesus was never actually killed, stating, "They did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but another was made to resemble him." By the strict historiographical rule of proximity, primary first-century sources and immediate secular corroboration carry significantly more historical weight than a document written 600 years after the event. Even if we completely removed the Bible from the equation, secular and hostile sources alone establish the historical baseline of Jesus' life and violent death. Combining this secular data with the biblical text, historians have constructed 4 specific minimal facts. Fact 1 is the crucifixion. Supported by medical consensus, Tacitus, Lucian, and the biblical narrative, even highly critical scholars consider this as sure as anything historical can ever be. This is a page from the authoritative Jewish Talmud. It serves as hostile Jewish corroboration, specifically confirming the method of execution. Fact 2 is the empty tomb. This is supported by the Jerusalem factor. Proclaiming a physical resurrection in the same city where the burial site was located invited immediate verification. If the tomb were not empty, the movement could have been dismantled by simply producing the corpse. We also have enemy attestation. The Jewish authorities claimed the disciples stole the body. By arguing that the body was missing, they inadvertently provide historical proof that the tomb was, in fact, empty. The narrative also meets the criterion of embarrassment. The accounts explicitly state the empty tomb was discovered by women. In first-century Judea, a woman's testimony was legally and culturally devalued. Authors would be unlikely to invent a foundation for their movement that rested on witnesses their society deemed uncredible. Fact 3 consists of the post-mortem appearances. There are multiple independent attestations of people seeing Jesus alive after his death, spanning different groups, individuals, and vocations. The creedal tradition of these appearances, recorded in 1 Corinthians 15, dates to within just 5 years of the crucifixion. This tight time frame makes it difficult for legends to have displaced the original events. Fact 4 is the transformation of the disciples. The baseline of first-century Jewish theology contained no concept of an individual resurrecting from the dead before the end of the world. When Jesus was executed, the disciples viewed him as a defeated failure. To move from that despair to preaching a victorious, resurrected Messiah requires a profound psychological and theological shift. Any viable historical theory must successfully account for all four of these pillars, without contradicting known first-century realities. This matrix allows us to test the three leading skeptical theories against the four facts we just established. First is the swoon theory, the idea that Jesus survived the cross. Given the lethal expertise of Roman executioners, this fails fact 1. It also fails fact 3. A severely maimed man stumbling out of a tomb would likely inspire pity, not a conviction that he had returned in a glorified, resurrected body. Next is the hallucination theory. This fails fact 2. Even if the disciples experienced visions, the body would still be in the grave for the authorities to produce as contrary evidence. It also struggles with fact 3. Hallucinations are individual psychological events. This hypothesis does not explain how diverse groups across multiple locations all came to believe they shared the same physical interaction. Finally, the stolen body theory. This fails fact 4, because it requires a coordinated, lifelong conspiracy among the disciples. During the Watergate scandal, the most powerful men in the world couldn't keep a lie straight for 3 weeks. Yet the disciples endured decades of torture, excommunication, and execution, including skeptics like James and Paul, without a single defector. Each naturalistic hypothesis struggles to account for at least one of the established facts. This leaves the historian to reconcile the data with the claims of the early church. Only one hypothesis, logically and historically, satisfies all four pillars of data without breaking down. We started by looking at the weight of external corroboration from pagan and Jewish historians to ground the investigation. We paired that with internal evidence, like the criterion of embarrassment, and the otherwise inexplicable theological shift of the early church. Standard skeptical theories, whether hallucination, conspiracy, or alternative historical revisions, find themselves in tension with the accumulated historiographical data. After looking at the history and the evidence, there is every reason to believe in the death, resurrection, and ascension of Jesus. But what do you believe? Do you think Christ died on the cross for our sins? Please let us know in the comments.
Thank you so much for watching this video on our TheoflowAI channel. If you have liked this video, then kindly consider hitting that like and subscribe button along with that bell icon in case you want to get notified with all our latest videos. We'll see you all in the next one. Until then, take care, stay safe, and may God bless you all.